Hello guys, my name is C. Harish Krishnan, hailing from Hyderabad. I'm a faculty for auditing, advanced auditing and professional ethics at CA final level. I'm a practicing chartered accountant. From the last 5 years I've been into teaching, and if you look at the final syllabus, we know that the standards in auditing, the professional ethics, and then the other chapters, right? In here is a video which is going to give you some kind of techniques, to help you with the 16 marks of professional ethics, because a lot of students are facing problems in remembering the clause numbers, right? Let me make an attempt to help you to understand what these clauses are, right? I will not deal with the content of the classes in this video, right? What I will just deal is a set of techniques, or you can simply say those are my ways of remembering the concept or the number, because ultimately when it comes to the exam, 16 marks matter, right? So I want the clause number to be right, the part number to be right, and the schedule number to be right. So yeah, let's get started with this video where we will be talking about how to remember, right, the clauses in professional ethics. It's a very simple concept, and again, like I said, this is only a suggested way of remembering it. This is not something to do with the answers, right? This is only on how you go about the clause number, part number, and the schedule number. You have to read it content wise and be conceptually very clear to understand what it is, right? That's in the audit style, a disclaimer, right? Let's start with the concept of professional ethics, and we understand that there are two schedules, right? To the Chartered Accountants Act 1949, we have Schedule 1 and we have Schedule 2. Schedule 1 is further broken down into 4 parts: Part 1, 2, 3 and 4. Schedule 2 has again 3 parts, right? Part 1, 2 and 3. And as you know, Part 1 of both the schedules are dealing with members in practice, right? These are dealing with members in practice, and part 2 deals with members in service, members in service. Part 3 deals with members generally, and part 4 deals with other misconduct, wherein same way schedule 2 much serious offences. Here they are being dealt with members in practice. Part 1 of schedule 2 again members in practice. Part 2 deals with members generally. Again part 3 also deals with other misconduct. Alright, so this is what is the breakup of the Chartered Accountants Act's schedules in our. Now when a question is asked in the exam, you are supposed to identify the right clause, the right part, and then the schedule number, right? So always remember, your answer will have to have clause number, comma, part number, comma, schedule number. This is a prerequisite in every answer that you write, right? Now, obviously, a lot of students remember what the content of the clauses and what is the answer, right? Most people will be in a position to judge whether the chartered accountant is guilty or not guilty and what is the solution. But mind you, as long as you are not writing the clause numbers or this pattern properly, you are set to lose marks. Now, from here we will find out some ways how to not lose those marks by finding some small quick look techniques as to how we go about, right? In part 1 of Schedule 1, where members are in practice, we have 12 clauses, right? We have 2 clauses for members in service, and then we have 3 clauses for members generally, and then we have only 1 clause with the 2 sub points, right, in other misconduct. Same way, members in practice in part 1 of Schedule 2 have 10 clauses. Members generally would be having 4 clauses, right? We have 4 clauses to catch up in part 2, and then here we have only 1 clause in the other misconduct. Let me in the very same frame clear it out as to what are the things in other misconduct. Guys, other misconduct is dealing with one aspect called imprisonment. If somebody has undergone imprisonment for some kind of an offence for less than 6 months, then they would be guilty under other misconduct under the part 4 of schedule 1 to the Chartered Accountants Act. If the same thing on the other side, if the imprisonment is for greater than 6 months for any offense, then you will be talking about schedule 2, where part 3 deals with imprisonment more than 6 months. Then what is more important for us to understand is there is also something which is, this is one part of the story. The second part is something that is to deal with, right, defaming the institute. You are doing certain activities that are defaming the institute, right? Bad reputation, right? You are bringing reputation. The kind of reputation that you are bringing to the institute by your activity. Well, like say for example, we have seen checks bouncing or using article students of personal work, right? These are all certain things that are covered in the other misconduct. We are talking about defaming the institute or bringing disrepute. You can say bringing disrepute to the institute, right? So these are some of the points that are being dealt in other misconduct, and the frame is very clear in to understand what these are, right? So guys, that is all with other misconduct, nothing very serious in that. But what's more important are the members in practice, because you have 12 and 10 clause on the other sides, and that's where we need a lot of support. So right away, let me take you through part 1, or basically go with schedule 1. Let's see what these 12 clauses are all about, right? So follow me guys, you will find right now we will be dealing all the 12 clauses of part 1 to schedule 1. So let's go with schedule 1. So we are talking about schedule number 1, and right now let me discuss part 1 guys. Part 1 is about members in practice, and we have 12 clauses, right? So let me break it down into 6 and 6 on either sides. Clause 1 guys, this clause 1, and I want you to remember only one key word in this term. It is only one person who is eligible to practice in his own name. So right, who is eligible to practice? So clause 1 talks about practicing in their own name. So I want you to remember one keyword on own name, and of course there are a couple of exceptions. A partner and employee, you can even allow them to practice in your name, but own name, right, on your own name is supposed to practice. Then clause 2 guys, clause 2 is talking about, right, two things. I want you to remember two words in this context, right? Two things here: pay or allow, or agree to pay or allow. Pay or allow, or agree to pay or allow. Two aspects here, right? Two keywords. One is pay or allow, agree to pay or allow. That's clause 2. Then clause 3, right? I want you to remember three things this time, right? In clause 3, I want you to remember three things. Or first, you got to remember the 3-letter word not. N-O-T being a 3-letter word. Not being a member, right? He is accepting a part of profit, right? You paid or allowed there. Here this time you are accepting or agreeing to accept from somebody who you are not supposed to accept, right? Accepting a part of profit, or agreeing to accept a part of the profit but from somebody who is not being a member. You are allowed to do it from another chartered accountant, right? But I want you to remember not being member, three keywords. So if you are not a member and you end up doing any of these, accepting or agreeing to accept, you are again guilty of professional misconduct. One word, two words, three words. Let me go with clause number 4. What's clause number 4 guys? Right? You are about entering into partnership with other than chartered accountant. So let me give you 4 keywords. Remember clause 4. Partnership, right? That's one word. Partnership. Other than, let me make it as one word. Partnership other than chartered accountant. Guys, you will be guilty of professional misconduct if you enter into partnership with somebody who is not a chartered accountant, subject to the list of exceptions. Like I said, you got to read the clause and understand the content. All that we are trying to tell you is to only the keyword, right? So 4 words I want you to remember in this context. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Clause number 5. I want you to remember a 5-letter word called means. M-E-A-N-S. If you are obtaining any kind of a professional work by means not open to a chartered accountant, then also you are guilty of professional misconduct, right? A 5-letter word called means, right? Then clause 6, guys, I want you to, of course, you don't need a technique to remember clause 6. Clause 6 is one of the most important clauses in part 1, a very extensive clause containing a lot of information. So 6th and 7th clause actually don't need any memory techniques. But anyways, let me give you. Clause number 6 talks about, right, solicit client or any professional work. So I am giving you 6 words again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Solicit client or any professional work. So if you are soliciting any kind of a professional work from anybody under clause 6, you know what the 5 conditions there are. Apart from that, if you are soliciting any client or professional work, you are guilty under clause 6. Let me move on to clause number 7, guys. I am going to give you a 7-letter word to remember clause 7, right? From the word professional, I am picking up 4 letters, and from the word attainments, I am picking up 3 letters, ATT. Professional attainments, I am picking up 7 letters from the entire concept of professional attainments, and I have to remember that if I am advertising any professional attainments, right, then I will be guilty of professional misconduct under clause 7. So professional attainment is the keyword there. And clause 8, I'm going to give you another keyword. There is an 8-letter word called previous. The word previous is an 8-letter word which talks about if you are not taking a confirmation from the like you are not communicating the predecessor auditor, which is a requirement of standard number 300 and also an ethical requirement, you are guilty of professional misconduct, right? So previous, the 8-letter word, you are supposed to remember. Then come to clause number 9. You will be guilty of professional misconduct if you don't fulfill the responsibilities under section 225 of the Companies Act 1956, and since the Chartered Accountant Act is not amended as yet, we would have to read it with the current section. But since let us go with 225 because it's an easy way to remember. Clause 9 is about section 225. 2 plus 2 plus 5 gives you 9. So which is clause 9, which is talking about section 225, right? Guilty of professional misconduct. And talking about clause 10, we have 2 important 10-letter words, right? If you are accepting fees on a percentage basis, the word percentage is a 10-letter word. So clause 10 for the percentage. Or you also have another 10-letter word called contingent, right? I don't know if it's a real coincidence or what it is, but you find percentage, contingent both being 10-letter words discussed in clause 10. Then guys, clause 11 will make you guilty as a chartered accountant in practice if you engage in any profession other than chartered accountancy, right? So let me pull up a small quick keyword, 11-letter keyword I am pulling out, which is other than. Other is a 5-letter word, than a 4-letter word, that makes it 9, CA 2 more letters. So 11-letter keyword for you to remember clause 11 is other than CA. If you are entering into any professional activity, you will be guilty of professional misconduct. And lastly, clause 12, talking about 2 things, guys. Let me write clause 12 in 1 and 2. Clause 12 in this format. So there are only 2 people who are allowed to sign, that is you and your partner. If anybody else is signing or you are allowing anybody else to sign, you will be guilty of professional misconduct. Guys, 1, 2. 1 is you, 2 is your partner. That's clause 12 for you, right? So some of the ways, this is how, I think I can remember all these clauses based on 8-letter word called previous, and I know 225, the total is 9, and 10-letter words of percentage and contingent other than CA, 1 and 2, or maybe like 5-letter word called means. If you practice it a couple of times, watch the video as many times as possible close to the exam so that you will be able to see. In the exam, it is important that you don't go wrong with the clause number. So nobody cares on what way you remember. or if you tell me that you have better ways to remember than this, you are always welcome with it, right? Let me move on to part 2, guys. Right, in here I am going with part 2 of schedule 1. No big deal because there are only 2 clauses. I am just talking about these 2 clauses which are in clause 2 and 3 in part 1. Right now are clause 1 and 2, which are nothing but the same clauses 2 and 3 there, but this time for employees. If an employee is accepting or agreeing to accept, or if the employee is sharing any emoluments that he earns, right? So this a very rarely asked part, but nevertheless you never know, this is an exam of chartered accountancy, so anything can happen. So also I want you to remember 2 simple things, but this time it's only about members in service. Let me wind up with the last part in schedule 1, that is part 3, since I've already dealt part 4 and other misconduct. Part 3 has 3 clauses, guys, right? Part 3 has 3 clauses. Clause 1, you can either be an ACA or an FCA, right? If you have finished 5 years, you will be an FCA, otherwise you are an ACA, right? But by not being an FCA, if you claim to be an FCA, that is by being an ACA, you are calling yourself to be an FCA, you are guilty of professional misconduct, right? So only one of those, ACA or FCA, only one of them. Right, that is clause. If you are an ACA, call yourself an ACA. If you are an FCA, you can represent yourself as an FCA. But if you are misrepresenting by being an ACA and calling yourself FCA, you will be guilty of professional misconduct. Clause 2, part 3, 2 aspects, guys. I am going to talk about 2 keywords, right? One word is called supply, the other word is called comply. One word is supply and the other word is comply. Supply what? Comply with what? Supply with all the information and comply with all the regulations of the 7 bodies. If you are right now sitting with clauses, you can refer the 7 bodies down there, right? It will be Board of Discipline, Disciplinary Committee, you have the Director Discipline, Quality Review Board, right? All those, Institute, Council, all those 7 bodies. If any of the 7 bodies are asking you any information and you don't submit them, right, failed to supply or comply, 2 words, supply, comply, 2 words, clause 2, part 3. Then clause 3 in part 3, clause 3 in part 3 talks about, guys, you are allowed to do something here in clause 6 and clause 7, right? 3 aspects, clause 3, 3 aspects. What are the 3 aspects? Inviting professional work. You are allowed to invite professional work, no problem, right? You are also, you can respond to inquiries, that is also not a problem, and you can also advertise through write-up. Guys, 3 words, 3 aspects you can remember in clause 3. I am also going to give you a 3 keyword, right? What is the 3 things? You can do these 3 things, but if you give false information, that is knowing to be false. If you do any of these 3 activities with these 3 words, knowing to be false, so anywhere you come across knowing to be false, it's clause 3, part 3 of schedule 1, right? Guys, let me give you a quick picture once again. You can take a screenshot or you possibly might pause and write it down, right? This is the complete framework. Let me move outside the frame so you can comfortably see what is there in the whole of schedule 1, right? I am leaving it for a couple of seconds so that you can pause it and take a screenshot, or you might as well prefer to write it. That's the whole part of 3 parts of schedule 1, since we have already discussed other misconduct. Now let me run down the same kind of techniques for schedule 2 as well, some quick ways. Let's see for schedule 2, and I hope you have already done what I just said. So let's move on, guys, to what is schedule number 2. So there we have 3 parts. Since I have already discussed the 3rd part of other misconduct, we just have 2 more parts to be discussed. We will also discuss those 2 parts right now, where we are talking about schedule 2 this time. Alright guys, let's go ahead with schedule 2 and part 1. Guys, schedule 2 is all about serious offences, right? Part 1 again, members in practice. So when you're talking about members in practice, and like I said, we have 10 clauses. So let me split it as 1, 2, 3, 4. And then one of the interesting points in clause 5, 6 and 9, right? There's one common word in clause 5, 6 and 9, which is material. Right? We can remember all these three clauses with a key word or a common word called material. And what do you mean by material is something that is important. I will tell you what three things are important in clause 5, 6 and 9 as we get there. But let's start with clause 1. Guys, there's only one keyword that I want you to remember called confidentiality. Confidentiality. Right? Confidentiality is the only keyword. Break the rule of confidentiality, guilty under clause 1. Then talk about clause 2. I have two words to give you. One is certify and second one is submit. Guys, if you certify and submit, two keywords. Again, I'm going to give you plus two more keywords. Without examination. Without what? Without examination. Talking about certifying and submitting any of those papers without examination, two keywords. Either remember two keywords without examination or remember two keywords certify and submit. Clause 2, two keywords. Talking about clause 3, guys, I'm going to give you three terms, three words that you need to remember. Vouch for accuracy. Guys, this is a very simple one. If you're vouching for accuracy of any, right, estimates, vouch for accuracy of any estimates or any future oriented information, you will be guilty of professional misconduct. You can't vouch for accuracy, you can only give an assurance report, right? So vouch for accuracy, you have standard number 3400 on prospective financial information, which says that, you know, vouching for accuracy is not something done. So three keywords. If you vouch for accuracy, then again you are guilty of professional misconduct. Guys, clause 4, let me give you four keywords, right? What are the four keywords that we are talking about, right? This time you are expressing opinion. I want you to remember these two words first. Expressing opinion. Then the immediate question is on what? Expressing opinion on financial statements of a concern in which somebody is having substantial interest. So guys, I have four words for you. Expressing opinion, substantial interest. Four keywords on clause 4. And like I've already said, 5, 6 and 9 have one word in common, right, which is material. Clause 5 talks about material fact. Clause 6 talks about material misstatement. And clause 9 talks about material departure. The keyword material. Alright, so that's about clause 5, 6 and 9, fact, misstatement and departure, right? Let's move on to clause 7, guys. Clause 7 is talking about, let me give you a 7-letter word here, which is called grossly, right? We know the clause, the key part of the clause is about being grossly negligent, right? So let's remember this 7-letter word called grossly negligent. So picking up the keyword here is gross. Let's come to clause 8, guys. Clause 8, I'm going to pick up a 8-letter word for you, right? From the word sufficient, I'm pulling out 4 letters for you. And from the word information, I'm putting 4 more letters for you. That is sufficient information, right? So this particular 8-letter word, sufficient info, and we know that you will be guilty of professional misconduct if you certify any of the financial statements without obtaining sufficient information. Clause number 9 has already been dealt with, right? And clause 10, I'm going to give you another keyword from, from the word separate. I'm going to pull up 3 letters, SEP. From the word bank, I am retaining as it is, and how we write account in our short form ACC. So pulling out to be a 10-letter word called separate bank account. That's a key word to remember. Clause number 10, which is if you fail to deposit client's money in a separate bank account, you will again be guilty of professional misconduct, which is what are your 10 clauses, guys, in Schedule 2's part 1. Let me discuss the last part here, part 2, since we have already discussed part 3 on other misconduct. We talk about part 2, which has only 4 clauses, right? Again, I want you to remember only one word for contravention. It's called what? Contravention. Contravening the provisions of the act, anything. So one keyword for clause 1, contravention. Part 2, clause 2, this time 2 keywords. Same thing like in clause 1, but this is for people. In practice we are talking about confidentiality. This time here we are talking about 2 words. This time it is for employees in service, confidentiality. Right? Employee, confidentiality, 2 keywords to remember. Right? Employees, confidentiality. So if an employee being in service is leaking out on confidentiality, then he will be guilty of misconduct. And then clause 3 talks about, guys, you are submitting a lot of information to those 7 bodies, remember, right? So those 7 bodies are back here, which we discussed in part 1, schedule 1. 7 bodies, again 3 same words, knowing to be false. There you fail to supply or comply, that was clause 2 there. Here clause 3 talking about the same 7 bodies, this time you are supplying or complying, but you are doing it knowing to be false. Then also you will be held guilty of professional misconduct. Then part 2, clause 4, which is our last clause in right now discussion. I am going to give you 4 keywords to remember. Defalcate or embezzle. Defalcate or embezzle, right? In professional capacity, 4 keywords. Defalcate, embezzle, professional capacity, the 4 keywords that we need to talk about in these 4 keywords we'll talk about clause 4 in part 2. Part 3, let me just write it again for your frame. Part 3 is something where imprisonment is greater than 6 months. You will be held guilty of other misconduct. One more important tip that at this point in time I want to give you is, right, when you are writing other misconduct answers, which is one of the frequently asked questions in the exam, a lot of students do a general mistake calling it, they just say the chartered accountant is guilty of professional misconduct. Guys, it's a very important thing to differentiate between what a professional misconduct is and what other misconduct is. Part 4 of schedule 1 and part 3 of schedule 2 are the only 2 places where you are supposed to write the word other misconduct. In all other places you will be writing the word professional misconduct. And then one last tip about how to present a professional ethics answer. Professional ethics answer in the exam, right? Always remember, right? We have students who have scored 16 on 16, 14 on 16 in this particular segment, right? So it's a very high scoring area, guys. In CA final, scoring marks in audit is a very difficult task. We have already seen even the rankers at All India first or second level will just able to score 45, 50, 55, and we have seen this, and it's not just happened once, right? So the secret of scoring high marks is writing quality answers. How can you write a quality answer? After you remember, let me give you a 4-step process. Step 1. Step 1, guys, in a professional ethics answer is to identify clause, part and schedule. This is very important. You just have to first write this, and this is compulsory. Then step 2 is explanation of the clause. What does this clause talk about is a very important point to be discussed. Then step 3, guys, is connection between clause and question. So how does the clause deal with this question? So you will tell X Limited did this, or Y Limited this, X chartered accountant behaved like this, or he didn't behave like this. What is the connection between the clause and the question? And then step 4 is all about writing the conclusion, right? Step 4 is all about writing conclusion, that is whether he is guilty or not guilty. You will be writing this to close the answer, right? Guys, any answer written in these 4-step fashion, I don't think anybody will be in a scope of losing marks. But if you go wrong at this point, I think after that, you're messing up the whole thing. So be very careful, use these techniques. If you have better techniques, you can always go with them, like I told you. But this is the pattern of writing the answer. Alright, that's it. That's a short and quick video on the techniques to remember professional ethics clauses. I hope it will be of help. If you've liked it, hit like, and of course you've got to subscribe to our channel called tuition.in, where we have much more videos to come up which will help you for the exam. Thank you, guys.